If you can believe it, today marks day 500 of the war between Israel and Hamas, and 2 weeks remain in the first phase of this ceasefire. Secretary of State Marco Rubio now on his second stop in the Middle East, arriving in Saudi Arabia today, echoing Israel's war aims in Gaza, saying that Hamas must be eradicated. And his comments coming during a meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The pair also discussing President Trump's proposal to transfer the Palestinian population out of Gaza. Netanyahu signaling his support for that plan, but Arab leaders rejecting it. And there is growing concern the fragile ceasefire could collapse. Joining us now is Fleur Hassan-Nahoum. She is a special envoy for Israel's foreign ministry and the former deputy mayor of Jerusalem. Thank you for being here. I think it's incredible to mention the 500-day mark. And my thought immediately went to the families whose loved ones were murdered and those who were displaced from their homes and communities. And 500 days later, I know that on the front lines, you've been in touch with them as they tried to pick up the pieces and move forward with life. Give me just a status check on how those are doing who have been impacted directly by this war.
Well, it almost seems like everybody in this country has been impacted, but also remember, it's a small country. So everybody here is related or knows people or is affected by this, but the families who've been directly impacted, and there are families who are still being impacted. We still have almost 70 hostages, alive and dead, still in the dungeons of Gaza, being tortured, being malnourished. We saw the scenes a few weeks ago. And the worst thing is this terrible, farcical, cruel Russian roulette that Hamas is playing, that they waited till the very last second before they announce who they're letting out that week. Imagine that cruelty. And then refusing to tell us of all those people left, who's alive and who's dead. So families who've been advocating for their loved ones to come out for 500 days, they don't even know if they're advocating for a living or a dead relative. It's just so cruel. We're so exhausted. And most of the country in some type of trauma or post-trauma. Yes, absolutely.
And how do you prepare? I mean, I think the fragility of phase one is still in question, but phase two and what that looks like for those in Israel.
Well, this is really the crux of the matter now. Do they extend phase one? And this is, I think, where President Trump has been very helpful. He's the one who's saying, I don't understand why Hamas is drib-drabbing out the hostages, 2, 3 a week. Imagine the cruelty. If you have a deal, then why do you have to just release a few every single week? Why can't you just release all the hostages and get what it is that you want for the deal? And this is what President Trump is saying. And we want to make sure that all the hostages get out. And of course, there's this fear at the bottom of our stomachs that Hamas will always keep some hostages back to have leverage, to fight for survival, as the entire world understands that they cannot continue ruling Gaza the day after. That is the fear.
And the future of Gaza in question, how do Israelis feel about reestablishing this area, pushing the Palestinians out and where they go?
Well, nobody wants to push the Palestinians anywhere that they don't want to go. But let me give you some numbers. In the last 12 years, around 350,000 Palestinians have left Gaza. The ones that had some money, who could get themselves smuggled out, have done it. Let's talk about the two leaders of Hamas, Haniyeh and Khaled Mashal. Where are they living? They're not living in Gaza. They're living a luxury 7-star life in Doha. So all we're saying is whoever wants to leave Gaza and whatever country wants to take them, they should be allowed to leave. Why should they have to be forced to stay, to continue to suffer under a genocidal terrorist group?
What is Israel's greatest hope over the next year, 5 years? And can you even look that far down the line?
Well, really, our greatest hope is that some good faith actors, perhaps some of the moderate Sunni Arab countries in the region, like the UAE, like Saudi, will come and be involved in the reconstruction and ensure that whoever's in charge of Gaza is not a jihadi terrorist that wants Israel's destruction. We could have technocrats, we could have an international government that is run by the Palestinians who actually want a future of peace and prosperity for their people. That's all we've ever wanted. Israel left Gaza in 2005 with the hope that the Palestinian leadership would take this wonderful enclave on the Mediterranean coast and turn it into a beautiful economy, a Riviera, like Trump said. They could have done that in 2005, and instead they decided to turn it into a terrorist enclave. They still have that choice, but we need leaders that are not interested and solely interested in the destruction of Israel.
Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, as always, thank you for joining us.